Yeah, I'm ready anytime.
It's preparing a live stream right now. Feeling it. Loading that one.
We're good?
You're invited.
All right. I'm going to call us to order at 5:05 p.m. This is the April 28th regular meeting of the Altadena Library District Board of Trustees. I am temporarily presiding for Trustee Wilkerson and will hand the gavel to her as soon as she arrives. But before we dive into our agenda tonight, I'd like to begin with our land acknowledgement. The Altadena Library District acknowledges its presence on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of the Gabrielina Tongva peoples. Altadena is located on the stolen homelands of the Hahamunga tribal band, the traditional territory of the Gabrielina Tongva, which is referred to as Tovangar, including the areas currently known as Los Angeles County, Riverside County, West San Bernardino County, parts of Orange County, as well as the 4 Southern Channel Islands. Entities such as the U.S. government and non-native settlers have subjected the Gabrielino Tongva peoples to historic and continuing injustices, including genocide, forced displacement, and cultural and linguistic erasure. The Altadena Library District commits to learning, educating, and informing its staff and residents of present-day Altadena about the rich histories, vibrant communities, and culture of Gabrielino Tongva people, present and past, through our collection development, resources, and program offerings. We will get to our roll call in just a minute, but first, I have one of the fun jobs that we get to do, which is to swear in our new trustee. So as any of you who were here for our special meeting last week know, we had a vacancy appointment, and our newly appointed trustee is Justin Moranis. Justin, am I saying your name?
You are.
I'm nailing it. Hell yeah. So at the first regular meeting, which you attend, I get to swear you in. Oh, but
No,
do you want to keep going?
Do it.
Okay, all right. So here we go, Justin. I am going to administer the oath of office. So if you wanna do the deal, all right? Do you solemnly swear that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic? That you will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California? That you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which you are about to enter?
I do.
All right. Well, welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're delighted
Appreciate
to
it.
have you. I am absolutely certain that by the time we reach the adjournment of this meeting, you will leave with a whole bunch more jobs than you have now. So I'm excited to see how that goes, but thank you so much for being here, and we're excited to
No,
work
thank
with
you. I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic. All right, so now we can do our roll call. Trustee Moranis,
Here.
Trustee Lim,
Here.
Trustee Ruffin.
Here.
I am here, and Trustee Wilkerson is here, and she will be on camera in just a minute. All right, so for our agenda today, we did have a couple of revisions that were posted. So the agenda that you'll find online, as well as the full agenda package, is now the full and complete agenda. A couple of last minute additions. Do we need to move anything around, or can I have a motion to adopt the agenda as it stands?
Motion to adopt the agenda as it stands.
Great, do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, all right. Kathleen, do we have any public comment on non-agenda items? Okay, fantastic. We're gonna keep breezing through. So next up, we've got the consent calendar, which is 2 sets of minutes. It's the March 24th regular meeting minutes and the April 21st special meeting minutes. Those are in your agenda package. Can I hear a motion to approve the consent calendar, please?
So, seconded.
Boom, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll abstain as to the minutes as I weren't at this meeting.
Okay, great. 4 in favor, 1 abstention. So the consent calendar is approved. We've got nothing that comes out of the consent calendar. So I think that brings us to our departmental updates and special presentations. And up first, we've got an update on the FutureCon cybersecurity event, which sounds very exciting, from Alfredo Sanchez Mendoza. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's how I thought.
Hi, everyone. Sorry. Hi, everyone. I recently attended a conference that is named FutureCon. It was in near LAX. And the main intent of this was to hear from experts in the cybersecurity field, trying to immerse myself in the latest cybersecurity developments to gain valuable insights of what's going on in today's dynamic world. And also the main things that I was trying to get to was how to effectively manage risk, demo newest technologies, and also learn from an array of different possibilities that can be incorporated into our library world here. So next slide, please. So cybersecurity is not just for IT, it also impacts everyone, our staff, our patrons, and also our valuable resources. Keeping our systems secure is essential for protecting sensitive information and ensuring everyone can safely use our services. Ultimately, a secure environment contributes to the well-being of our staff and the entire district by reducing risk and worry. Next slide, please. One key takeaway was from Ryan from ZeroFox, who spoke about the unintentional intruder. This highlighted that threats are not just technical attacks. They can also come through social media or by targeted individuals directly, like tricky emails asking for passwords. It's crucial to protect our library's good name online and help our staff recognize and avoid this kind of threats. Next slide, please. Dan from 909 Cider also discussed what's your security strategy. This session emphasized the importance of having a clear, proactive plan for security rather than just reacting after something happens. It's about looking at where we are now and plan how we'll protect ourselves from technology and threats involved. And how I always say is not really of when this can happen. It's not really of when if it's gonna happen. It's when it's gonna happen. Next slide, please. Deborah from Cloudflare explained why stacking your security is so important. Today, online threats are complex and attacks can come from different parts of our digital systems all at once. This really means that we need multiple layers of security working together, be it physical, digital, or just the knowledge of it. It's not like one line of defense is going to help, like just a fire. Next slide, please. And the main one, think of our library system as a basic club. We want our legitimate users, the good guys, to get in easily. A BDOS attack is like a huge unruly crowd of malicious bots or traffic trying to rush in the entrance all at once, overwhelming it and stopping the good guys from getting in. The Cloudflare talk helped me understand the DOS mitigation, which our vendor Bywater is actually implementing. And the acts of, I missed a little bit. It's implementing that a service kind of like a skill bouncer. And this quotes bouncer stands as the entrance, checking everyone blocking the bad crowds, botnets, and roaming traffic, and ensuring that only legitimate users can access our system. It's a vital extra layer of defense. Next slide, please. And the knowledge gained directly in this event was directly applicable to our upcoming projects. By that I mean, as we renovate the main library, we need to ensure security is built into the new technology or our network setups. For the Loma Alta site, and also implementing hard work will be strong cybersecurity essentials that we need to implement so we can protect staff connected from different locations or accessing library resources remotely. Next slide, please. And it's clear that a layered and proactive approach to cybersecurity is our best defense. Understanding and leveraging advanced protections like BDOS mitigation from a vendor, Bywater, is crucial. Moving forward, we should try to focus and incorporate the securities we should strive to focus on and incorporate this security planning into all our initiatives. And next slide, please. Questions? Don't be shy.
How often do we have external issues?
Issue.
I don't know.
I was, like an example, I would say like, our website
Yeah.
was previously also, attacked or flooded by a botnet as well.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the cases where the DDoS protection would have mitigated that. I guess double checking, hey, this malicious address or someone that's coming, it's just keeps opening our website and not responding, just lagging it. It would have been a perfect case, but we do have other ways of blocking it, but it takes more of a reactive approach.
Mm-hmm.
But this one's more you're proactive at this point. Yeah. But to make it short, it's random, to be honest, but we've gotten maybe twice or 3 times a year, depending on what it is.
Okay.
What kind of data are they looking for? Like, if we have an attack, what are they really looking to try to drive? What is valuable for us?
You'll have to step on literally onto the shoes of the criminal on that one, or depending on the actor. It depends what they want to do at this point, if it's private info or addresses or that kind of thing, but all that info is protected. It depends what they're trying to do. Honestly, usually it's just trying to bring down the website, because it's a sense of success, I guess, for them.
Has there been an uptick in any of those attacks since the beginning of this year?
I wouldn't have the data right now because of our internet has been going down, because of the fires.
Yeah.
We just recently restored it, so
Right.
it'll be probably the data from the past 3 weeks or something, to be honest.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I can get back to you on that.
So if the goal is to have a sort of proactive layered approach, what does that look like? Is that a plan you all are developing, or is it basically looking at the various components and saying like, yeah, we're in good shape? How do you review that periodically? What's the sort of process?
But proactive, it's more, it all starts with the user. It's not really how many, I guess it's the appetite at risk, how much you're gonna take, like how much. You can say like, oh, I'm gonna buy all this fancy hardware, all this fancy bots and all this to building physically, digital and all that. It doesn't matter if the user just clicks on the email and just lets them go right there. So I think what is the biggest thing that we do implement right now is we do monthly phishing campaigns. And how we send fake emails saying, hey, you just got a gift card, or hey, please see a picture of my dog, like going beyond. Those kind of emails impersonate sometimes what the real event is gonna be.
Right.
And it reinforces that act of don't just willingly just click on the link. Always cover, check out who it is. If not, don't just trust the vendor. Go to the actual vendor's website and go to the other side.
Yeah.
Don't just give the key to someone.
I do want to see a picture of that dog though.
Oh, there you go. It works.
Interestingly, today I got 6 emails from the director of South Pasadena
Yeah,
that were all phishing.
really.
But she got hacked hard.
Oh, it sucks.
Yeah, and I was in a meeting with her this afternoon and yeah, she's been responding to thousands. Like, so many people have reached out to her.
That sucks.
So I guess to answer part of your question as well, we're always analyzing risk, kind of like what Alfredo was talking about, like appetite for risk. So we're always analyzing risk and trying to see what potential avenues we have within our ability as a library district and our budget. So one of the things Alfredo was talking about is Bywater, who helps support our library system, is implementing this DDoS protection plan so that our catalog was getting hit, to what Alfredo was talking about, and our website as well. And we were able to mitigate that, but they're implementing this new tool with Cloudflare that can detect it and stop it pretty quickly. And so similarly, we're looking at all avenues for updating our security protocols and how we handle things. So we're always looking at, and you'll see in my report, where we're looking at moving things to cloud, to vendors who currently offer cloud hosting services and have these tools and the funds to be able to spread amongst all of their clients.
Hmm.
So that we're not having to invest money into that service when someone else can do that hosting part for us.
Right.
So that's just one example of that, but we're constantly evaluating all of our resources and, trying to move forward with security in mind. And that's one of the things that he talks about in one of the slides is analyzing everything through a security lens and how can we increase our security, and lower our risk. All at the same, and then all with implementing new services and features.
Got it. Thank you.
So that's all right.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.
We're at, department updates.
Thank you so much, Katie, for getting us started. We will move on to 5B, which is department update reports. Are there any questions or feedback from trustees on the department updates?
Just I know this is our board report with library reopening, and it was so fun to see programming photos from inside the buildings and see people back in the spaces. And that was just really, really lovely and heartwarming. And anecdotally, I know I've talked to so many people around town who, even if they're displaced, the fact that the library is open, even if they can't personally come, they have said feels really important and meaningful. So I think it's a big morale boost as well for everyone.
I would say ditto on that. So many people just so happy that, it's still here, one, and that it's back open.
Also, I'm very excited about the owl egg situation.
I was like.
No, I have a lot, I was gonna have a live stream, I'm like, I think, especially because we've got our owls on everything, like, this is some rare synergy, you know? Yeah, exactly.
Daniel, just close your ears. No, we're not giving you more work.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Ooh. Do you have some plans? Or a live stream?
Find a tree.
Well, maybe the tree arborist fellow person can go back up and place a strategic, camera. I don't know. It's exciting though.
It is exciting.
Or maybe they can just go back up and, are they really high up there? Oh,
Well, that's good for them. But,
I know.
When we hear them, we'll know that they're doing good.
Yeah.
And they'll keep little owl sound.
Aw.
Baby owls. How many eggs were there? Like 3? Or
There were 3 in the picture.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
In that same report, I like how you noted, it's totally a small thing, but maybe not a small thing, how looking toward FEMA to reimburse for so many things that were done was really helpful to see.
It's an ongoing battle with them.
Yeah.
Is it a battle? Are they actually like, or?
No,
do
they just have a
need
lot
details?
of rules and restrictions, and you can do this, you can't do that, and, we're learning, the process here. I've personally never worked with FEMA before. So it's interesting, and they don't always tell you every single bit of details until, we can read a meeting with them. So that's been a little frustrating, but, we're doing the best we can with them. So we're hoping that we can get reimbursed for most of it, if not all.
And then, David, the not cords, the cables that were damaged for the internet, is that what the CNIC, they've replaced, or that's been repaired?
Yes, so Scenic is our provider that we work through, which provides internet to a lot of the educational institutions, both libraries and universities. And so they work with contracting out the services, and the services are contracted through AT&T. So about 2.5 miles of our fiber internet, which is what we because our backbone were burned during the fire, so we were battling with AT&T to get out and get it replaced. So they had some issues with access to poles and remediation around the utility area. But yeah, so that's what we got finally. with this.
Nice.
Hooray.
Right. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? All right. Wrote down eagle eggs, or not eagle eggs, or owl eggs. Owlets. Okay, so moving on to reports, we have the support group.
Do you have, Foundation President Mark Marisol here to speak on?
I see him.
Mark Mariscal, the president of the Altadena Library Foundation. Justin, let me just say welcome to the Board of Trustees. I hope I get to see you here in 2032. But if not, enjoy at least the next 18 months, or how long's the assignment for, the temporary?
About a year and a half.
Year and a half? Run for reelection, just start getting your campaign going now. So the Library Foundation has a board meeting. Nikki's just sent you an email for May 28th. Couple little challenges. We're trying to keep our second Wednesday in every other month going. But it'll be enough, but really what it'll be, and so then you'll hear about it in June, is really an update of the amount of dollars that we have received from the library, from different donors on behalf of the Library Foundation for a combination of the capital campaign and also then the hotspots and other program support. And so as an example, I shared with Ashley that, for this Friday, the trustees, the foundation board members, maybe the friends, some of us will be here, helping for the event on Friday with the reception. Good old Kenny, who has refound his talent. Not that he ever lost it, but it's really good to see all of the things that are going on with him. The California African American Museum and just the highlight of Altadena. And so where we can be supportive, we're going to do that. And then of course, the support that the library district itself needs, starting May 17th and moving forward with the workings of the temporary library site, or whatever we're calling that room over there at Loma Alta Park. But we're looking forward to helping, the library district and just things at that park in general, because I think it's great that the library is going there and that we have a home. I didn't ask before I walked in if any things are signed, which I doubt, but we'll move on from there. So that's really all I have from the Library Foundation. And do we have Tom on by any chance?
He sent a report.
So, Friends of the Altadena Library, which I kind of sort of stopped using that personally, but one of your trustees the other day said to me, so how is it going with full? I had to think about this. Oh, hey, Ray, good to see you. Anyway, so the Friends of the Altadena Library, which is really just, trying to hang on. We know the library is closing soon. And so the idea is our book sale on May 17th and 18th is to truly clean out as much, except for the things that we're going to set aside for the store, for the bookstore up here. But we are prepared for that. The membership kind of renewals have really kind of slowed down. But I will say that the amount of money, there's a couple of donations that have come into the Friends from some, just some people who have helped the Friends in the past. So, when it comes to the amount of membership dollars, which is only a couple of $1,000s a year, that'll probably even out as the year goes through. But, the library sale on the 17th and 18th is kind of an all hands on deck. And so I've got to find a couple of extra people to help, only because some of us will be also at Loma Alta Park on May 17th. So it's a little bit of a challenge on that end. But our goal on Sunday, which is most important for any of you listening in, all 42,000, even though 18,000 of you are somewhere else, but all 42,000 of you, please realize that if you happen to have been an Altadena resident on January 6th, we would love to see you on Sunday, May 18th, because if you come, children can, whatever books they can put in their hands, they can walk right out to your car. And adults are gonna be able to take some books for free also. And so it's really kind of an honor system, but, our goal is, one, to truly clean out below. And what's not cleaned out, we are on Monday gonna kind of, again, send another message out, hey, come and get whatever's left on the side. And then the rest are going to where we normally take whatever's left over. With the idea being that, as I said, as the promise of what Friends of the Library has said to staff, so the trustees know, is that we really are trying to get everything cleaned out of downstairs in preparation for the long-term renovation of this building. So I will say that last night I attended a thank you, kind of good going away retirement party for Jennifer Duvall, who truly loves this library and loves Bob Lucas. In her thank you speech, she mentioned the library. A couple of the photos that were on the display during the dinner were the ones from the Bob Lucas, and something else out here on another day. And, Brenda Galloway, who we honored as part of the Library Foundation, and she was there. It was really a great event last night as Jennifer retires, but they did make an announcement that Jennifer is gonna be a part-time staff person on the new Altadena Builds Back Foundation.
Okay.
And so she's gonna stay active for 18 to 24 months, I think. But her step down date, I believe, from Pasadena Community Foundation is June 15th. So if any of you happen to see her anytime between now and then, feel free to say thank you to her for her 22 and a half years at PCF, because PCF, even, not with full understanding ourselves, she helped the ADA restroom improvement of Bob Lucas back around 2010 or 2009, somewhere around there. So PCF has been very supportive of the library district and the library friends and the library foundation over the years. And that's my story.
Mark, before you leave, we had, last week at our special meeting, we had yet another round of really talented, numerous people who applied for our board vacancy. And what we said to them and what we said to the group, however many months ago it was, Ray, when we did your vacancy appointment, is that we really wanted them to connect to the support groups, that we want them to be involved with the library. Is there any kind of mechanism within the foundation or the Friends to follow up with those people and see if there's a way to engage them? Because I would hate for them to just.
I think
Wow.
they are just creating the unfriendly foundation support group of the Altadena Library District. I think I just saw a file.
Enemies of the Altadena. Yeah.
She's a teaser. No, but honestly, I would be happy to have the staff send an email out to, maybe even the last two groups, send it to the admin at Altadena Library Foundation, and copy maybe Tom for the Friends, and just say, here are the two contact emails. I think the Friends actually has an email address at Yahoo, so let me get that for you, Catalina. That way it doesn't go to Tom's personal, but unless he wants it, we can ask him. But I do think that would be a nice thing, is if you connect them to us.
Yeah.
And say, the thing is, look, let's be realistic here. The
Totally.
Friends are gonna go into a little hiatus for some time. And the foundation, we're gonna work with the trustees and the staff to still see what we can do for capital dollars and program dollars, thinking of what we're gonna be doing in 27, 28. And of course, the Literacy Center with its opening is really a good place to get, some of the smaller $5,000, $10,000 grants for program support, especially if you're gonna lose any of the CLA or whatever you call the funds from California library group. And so, they might just be people that we can find little niches for them and see what they want to do. And I would love to have that opportunity.
Okay.
So
Great.
I will one last note for the foundation is we are still trying to deal with a donor a donor kind of party, thank you, because we still haven't, really set something for the Taste of Dina. So we're gonna talk about that on May 20th. Actually, we're gonna have some answers before that meeting. But a donor recognition, just kind of a follow-up similar to the one we did, March of last year. We have somebody who will fund it. We just, haven't really pushed hard to get it because everybody is just,
Yeah.
Doing so many other things.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, yes.
Valid.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
All right.
Don't worry, I'm on another agenda.
Alrighty. Nikki, administrative updates.
Thank you, Mark. You motivated me to be more brave. Good evening, trustees, and our many watchers online. Yeah, as I said, like, just reading through my report, you can see things have been super, super busy since we reopened the library almost 2 months ago now. One thing we've been really busy doing is recruiting. Knowing that we're gonna be opening the Bob Lucas Library, there are certain positions that we didn't fill when we moved the staff over to the main library. Well, we now know we need our branch librarian position. We had the external panel last week. We're bringing back the top candidates this Thursday and Friday, so excited to be selecting a librarian that will work over at our Bob Lucas Library. In addition to that, Diana's been acting as our branch manager, has been acting as our youth and family services manager. She will also be transitioning back to Bob Lucas. So we did post both the adult services and youth and family services manager position with the hopes of, I would love to hire both. We're budget planning right now. We're not sure if that's feasible, but we for sure want to hire at least one candidate. So that closed, first round of review of applications was technically today, because it sort of closed Friday, and we have over 40 applicants.
Wow,
Between both.
that's a
Yeah.
lot.
It's a lot. So, Ashley and I are busy going through those, and we'll work on, putting an interview process together to hopefully onboard a manager or two in the next month or so.
That's more than, but
A ton, yeah, compared to the past, yeah.
what are your thoughts on why?
Well, we do have a preference for a master's of library and information science. I'd say maybe a fourth have their MLS. But others have different backgrounds. So we're looking at all of that. And because we do have an equivalency clause in our job descriptions. So not all the most qualified people, but it's still a lot more applicants than we were getting in the past. So it's good. Big things are looking up in terms of being able to recruit. So we'll let you know. Cause yeah, we have a long list of people to be going through. We also posted both the lunch at the library and the adult internship postings within the last week or two. So if you know anyone that's interested in coming and working here for 10 weeks this summer, please shoot them to the website to apply. The plan will be to onboard them, late May, to kick off summer reading and all of that. So last year we hired 2 lunch at the library interns and 3 regular interns. We'd love to do that again. So we'll see what comes in, but the application process is still open right now. So spread the word. In terms of marketing, Bryn has been super busy as usual. As you saw in the report that we posted, the long list of news coverage that we've gotten in the last couple months, she's done a really great job of like spreading the word about everything that we're doing. I do think like the promotion we did for the welcome back event, LeVar Burton, that's why we had over 1,000 people show up that day for that event. So she's just done a really excellent job of promoting everything. In addition to that, people are so grateful for the Altadena Connections e-blast that she's been sending out. She's been doing that weekly, which goes to over 21,000 recipients. But I know when I'm out at meetings, people are very complimentary. And I do think that's one thing that we're really being able to give back to the community is like all those combined resources and programs and everything, things like that. So if you come across anything, make sure to shoot those to her because she'll put those in her updates as well. And the open rate is still almost 45%. So a lot of people are opening them as well. So as I mentioned, the welcome back event with LeVar Burton was great. We had all 4 of our elected officials here. It just was such a wonderful event that day, able to like give some joy to the families and children in our community. So publicly, I want to thank WME, which is William Morris Enterprises or whatever. They funded the event, so we were able to like give away food and face painting and crafts and all of that. So big thanks to them for their support. Just real briefly, because I'm sure Katie will be doing the Crisis and Recovery Committee, but thank you to both her and Ray for the time that I'm taking out of their lives with our crisis and recovery efforts. Katie and I did fly up to Sacramento on March 25th, and then while I was there, I got a call about potentially having the governor visit us, which he did 2 days later.
Nice.
So I think that's really great, got us on his radar. And then this morning, Ray and I actually attended a meeting with his office to talk about the budget shortfall. So that went really, really well. So thank you to both of you for all your help with that. I will just really briefly mention the fiscal year 25-26 budget preparation. With us not being real clear on what the deficit to the budget looks like, it's really not looking like we're gonna have a budget committee meeting on May 8th, because there's not really good data to build the budget worksheet with.
Yeah.
I think once we see the preliminary budget out of the governor's office, which is supposed to be mid-May, we'll have a better sense. But what that's gonna mean is bringing the budget to the board in June. So as soon as I have more information, and by the way, I am with a couple of our consultants, meeting with the county assessor's office tomorrow, and we're hoping to get better numbers. But until we sort of have a better sense of what our backfill is gonna look like, it's really hard to generate the worksheet. The worksheet's ready, like Trustee and I have met with Ashley, ready to go. We just need to know what realistically we're gonna have in terms of revenue. So FYI, whoever gets put on the budget committee, we're probably gonna delay that meeting, just so everybody's aware. I wanted to thank Ashley and Camila for attending the California Special District Association Legislator of the Year Awards. That was the first, like the inaugural meeting of the San Gabriel Valley chapter of CSDA, of which I'm on the board, but I was out of town. So thank you to the 2 of them for going. I heard it was a really nice event, so thank you. And real quick, because I know I have a lot in here. I did want to mention with the Connected Wellness fundraising campaign that we've been working with the foundation on. We received the next 100 Wi-Fi hotspots. They're in my office right now. We'll be distributing those, which puts us at 300 that have been distributed to families that lost their homes in the fire. Mark and I continue to press to raise more money and want to continue to work with T-Mobile to get them in the hands of every family that wants one. So
That's awesome.
thank you to the foundation for that, and to T-Mobile. They've been a really great partner in all of this as well. And I did secure the amount that we'll spend for at least the next 3 months, I think. They're worried with the tariffs, what's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's how
So they we sealed that for at least the next 2 months, which is good.
So are you that funding specifically for devices? When you say for the next 3 months, what do you mean?
So like if we wanna place another order,
Right, for devices, right?
yes, for the
Right.
mobile phones, yeah.
Okay.
We locked it in at $20 per month for a year, you know, and that price could change potentially, or maybe they won't be able to give them to us for free anymore. I don't know.
Got it,
So,
yeah.
yeah, we're keeping an eye on it. But also Mark's trying to get more grant funds, so. Yeah, and I think that's about it. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
And I didn't write public comment on this one, but based on what I hear, can I, when you finish your questions?
Can you make public comment?
Yeah, on the director's report.
That's entirely up to you.
I'll allow it.
It was touch and go there.
Yeah, it was tense.
You know, so every time you do an interview, you have to give your name and then spell it, right? But I don't need to do it this time. But I would want to say something since you're going to the assessor's office tomorrow. So one of the things that a couple of study groups are working at is there's about 85 lots that have been sold and about another
Oh, my God.
30 houses, I think. And you know, those are gonna recalculate you know, the property tax upward a little bit. So the pressing of the assessor's office is real important to say, because they've gotten most of, I know they haven't gotten them all, but I know they've gotten most of the declarations that people had to turn in for asking for the assessment downward. And I'll just give you my perfect example is they only cut my house, my property improvement value by 50%, which I thought was kind of strange. But when you think about it, it's because my property, you know, my land improvement, not the land, I'm sorry, the building improvements is low anyway. It was $98,000, so, you know, they cut it down to $49,000. So, you know, it's not a big as much drop on that, and you're gonna see that because of the 16% of the houses, or 15%, I'm sorry, of the houses were pre-tax, were pre-1975 homes compared to 6.7% in the entire county. I know it's confusing from that, but the point being is, one of the things that we're asking the supervisor's office to find out from the assessor is, out of the 80-something lots that have sold, how many of those actually had the older 1975 value, right, the pre-13? I just share that because these numbers are gonna be all over the place for probably 6 to 9 months. Which does make your budgeting challenging, but it won't at least be it won't be the true over the edge drastic total number that it could have been, is probably the best way to say it. You know, when you lose 1.2 million square feet, or, you know, whatever the number was that you've done a calculation on, you know, there's gonna be a little bit of upside because of, unfortunately, the people that are selling their lots. Just unfortunate, so.
Thank you.
Stay here for the next one.
Can I ask you a question about assessor's office stuff? And maybe this is also a Christie question. When are we gonna get a report on because that collection is happening now, the April collection, right? Like, when do they think they're gonna know about what impact deferrals are gonna look like?
Deferred.
Christie is on.
Someone's okay. Sorry, I was trying to get my video. So we do have a meeting with him tomorrow and we can confirm things, but my understanding is, and I saw something on the news because so many people are confused as well, is that regardless of deferrals, the county is not taking back the funds that they've given us this year. And we're supposed to get everything in this year's budget that they have allocated. So my understanding is we won't see it. Even if they're deferred, the county is still advancing those funds. It's next year that we're going to see any changes.
Right, I guess I was asking more as a sort of proxy for us to estimate for next year, a sense of like, oh, 40% or 80% or, you know, 10% or whatever.
We've been begging for information and that's what we're hoping to get in tomorrow's meeting.
Okay, great. Fingers crossed then.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Katie. We continue to use the same 40% number. And then we do have somebody that, you know, that the district, NBS, that they, that is a consultant for the district, that has also said, depending on what happens in tomorrow's meeting, they have the GIS, the map of what the structures are and where they fall, and could do some other calculations that would be better than the estimates we're using. But we'd like to see if we can get that for free first from the county. So,
okay,
that
thank you.
meeting's tomorrow.
Great. I'm excited to hear what happens. Excited is the wrong word.
Any other questions for Nikki?
Camila, on the agenda package, and I apologize, this is my fault when I updated, financial reports should immediately follow administrative update. So it should be Christie's next.
Okay.
It's on the agenda package, it's not on the agenda in front of you though.
Okay, got it. All right, then we will move into the financial report. Hi, Christy.
Okay. Yep. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to your new trustee. Normally I wouldn't go through it in a lot of details. I'll try to just pick on the high points since we're already 3/4 of the year through. But just knowing that you have a new director here, I will talk about a little bit about the category and the process, if that's okay. So on page 42 is the general fund budget to actual report. So we're 75% of the way through the year. And as we were just talking about, the property tax assessments get a portion at the beginning of the year and then paid out in 3 installments throughout the year. And then there's some other funding and adjustments that trickle through. So you are apportioned at 98%. We've only received about 60% of those funds. The additional, we are expecting that the next payment in April, and then a little bit of funding at the end of the year that will take us to the 100% mark, if not a little bit over. Library fees are, the different passport services and things that the library does, smaller sales of items, copies, that kind of stuff. It's lagging a little bit, but I think that will pick up. It's because with the library closure in January to February, obviously passport sales, some of that are down, but I expect that to ramp up over the next couple months yet. Grant reimbursements, this is primarily the reimbursements that are received from this California State Library grant for the Building Forward project. So all those funds were actually received in advance and are sitting restricted for the grant. But as monies are spent, some of them being general fund, we reimburse the general fund. So it's primarily a little bit of time from my charges and from the staff attending meetings and different things that they do specifically for that project. So we're right on target, if not a little bit above. Interest income continues to come in. The majority of your interest is invested in class, who is still earning upwards of 4.5%. We continue to look at those dollars, or excuse me, assess what the market's doing and make sure that those monies are still invested in the most appropriate place. But we're right on target with that. The other revenue is some of the minor things that come into the districts and miscellaneous revenues, but is primarily the E-rate revenue that comes back for the internet charges. Down below, you're going to see that the expense line is also below. It's because there's such a lag in those invoices. So we try to catch up by year end, but expect that those dollars will come in or be accrued by year end as well. So from a revenue standpoint, you're right on target to end in a really good position against budget. Expenses, salaries and benefits down a little bit, and that just has to do with some vacancies. There are some positions that sat for a few months during the year. One of them was filled at part-time. So you're going to see a little bit of savings there. Not a lot, but a little bit for the end of the year. Same with benefits. The one line that I'll bring attention to is line 21. We continue to talk about the unfunded pension liability that the district has and whether or not to make discretionary payments. So the district had budgeted a dollar amount last year, and then at the end of the year looked to see how much was available in the budget, how much would have been added to reserves, and decided to send an additional payment equal to the amount that was over the budget. For this year, we've got a few different things to consider because of the fire. But what I'd like to do, Nikki and I have been talking about this, and it was supposed to be a presentation first to your budget committee and then to the board, is I want to bring in one of my colleagues who has done this for cities and other special districts, lots of California organizations. He takes that liability, that pension liability, puts it into English, explains it to you what it really is and what your options are for funding it, whether it be something you do now or something you do over time. And I've never really been able to articulate it in the way he has done recently for me, for some other clients. So I want to bring him in to talk about it because it may be, the board needs to consider whether we continue to put money aside in our own investment, use the trust vehicle, or send it to CalPERS directly. Those are all decisions that I think he can help explain. Now, what happened about 2 years ago, I think, is that Cal Municipal came to the district, did an evaluation, helped you develop a policy, and then does this annual report to decide to show whether you're in line with that policy, just without spreading the entire presentation for Scott. His belief, and I understand it more that now that I've worked with him, is it's too complicated. It doesn't need to be that complicated. You don't need to pay someone to analyze it when you've got somebody right at CalPERS that is assigned to the district that can do some of that for free. So I'd really like to have him come and talk to you. Now, if the budget meeting is being moved, it may potentially be at that meeting or in front of the full board. But before we do anything more with that line, I'd like to get the board a little more educated on what the options are. Is that correct, Nikki? I'm speaking correctly about that. You're in line with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Can
All
I,
right.
can I request that we do that for the full board? Like, I think it's important for the budget committee, but
It
like,
is.
we've talked about this a ton, but we've
Yeah.
also rotated through people a fair amount since the last time we
Yeah,
did this.
we planned on bringing them to both meetings.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Cool.
To both, but absolutely for the board to understand where you're at with that. Okay, so moving to the next section, operating expenses. The lines that are over are primarily due to remediation, things that have been done for the fires. We tried to estimate increases. They've come in a little bit higher, but I don't think you're going to be in horrible shape because you've got some other lines that are under a little bit. Now, advertising will pick up more. There's some things that are going to be targeted toward the end of the year, so that's really timing. The trustee election, we just received the invoice in April, and then we also received a notification that there was an error and we'll be getting another invoice. So my initial assessment was that it was going to come in below budget. Nikki and I were excited. Now we're not so sure what this adjustment will be, but regardless, we'll see that in April. It'll be in your next report. And that is something you do only every 2 years, so you won't see that expense next year.
So what was
Professional.
the number? that
Yeah,
was
no, I was
error?
gonna ask the same
Yeah.
question. What did it come in at?
We don't, well, this one came in what, under 50, Nikki? The first one.
50,000 something, but Catalina actually got an updated.
Oh, she
I
did
got it.
already.
Day, and it was for
Lower.
52,000, but I'm gonna wait
Yeah, we're not
until
sure
the
if
end of the
it's-
week, because I'm not sure if that's a mistake, because they just sent their notice email out today, which said that they were gonna send the updated invoice in a couple of days. So I'm gonna sit on that one for a little bit, because I'm not
Okay.
sure if that was also an error, but they sent that invoice.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even lower.
Was it?
So it's not that much of a.
Yeah, exactly. It's a phishing thing. Don't click on that picture.
Don't click on that piece of mail.
Don't do it. Just don't click on their invoice at all. Be like, they told us not to do it. Safety first.
Okay, professional services are right in line, if not a little bit low, but again, a lot of that's timing. That consultant line will be picked up a little bit with the lobbyist that the district is using. So while some of the other activities that were planned are not going to be utilized through that line, we are paying the lobbyist out of that line. Information technology, again, you've got a couple lines that are under, one that's close, but in total, that budget should end fine for the year. That is the line I was referring to about the internet service, the E-rate. They're just behind in invoicing, so that line will catch up by year end as well. Both materials and programs are down a little bit, partly due to the closure of the library for a period of time, but also due to the fact that a lot of things occur closer to your summer programming. This is also part funded by your donations and grants, and you'll see the same type of activity on that side. So not a lot to draw attention to there, other than, again, like literacy services, that will be picked up by year end. Nothing really here. It's pretty much timing. Those should come in right around budget. So at this point in time, line 70 is basically, well, line 69 is telling you have more revenue than expenses, and that's just due to timing and the fact that all of your property tax revenues accounted for here. So we do expect that number to drop in the next couple. This is as of March. You've got 3 months of spending yet that will even it out and come a little bit closer to what we've budgeted, which is we had actually budgeted the use of 74,500, but I think just depending on what happens these next 3 months, we should come in pretty close to that, if not above. Any questions on general fund before I move to donations and grants? Okay, so donations and grants, everything is listed here except for your state library building forward grant. We talk about that in the next slide with the building projects, but primarily the revenue has been received to date. We've got a little bit coming from the foundation yet. And then the miscellaneous donation that's on here is for the LeVar Burton event. So that money has been pledged and is on its way to the library. So we'll likely see that in the next report or two. In terms of expenses, your salaries are right on. That's all for literacy. That's where those dollars go. Your operating expenses are on. We are expecting, the district's expecting to receive additional grant revenues for line 20, which is those resident hotspots. The hotspots were purchased elsewhere, but this has to do with some of the accessories and things that were needed in order to get those in the hands of residents. So we're expecting funding to come in and cover that line. Programming materials, again, looks to be down a little bit, mostly due to timing. And so on line 37, you're seeing revenues above expenditures, except for the one account that hasn't been funded yet. That's your LeVar Burton expenses, and we expect that to come in. Those other revenues will be spent between now and June. The idea for the district is always to spend every grant dollar, and so that's on target to occur before year end. Any questions about donations and grants? Okay, we'll move on to the next one is a combined, mostly to show you which lines are supported by both general fund, your general fund and your donations and grants. And that's salaries and benefits, some of your operating, and then your programming and materials as well. Okay, the next one is building projects. So this first report, again, page 46, shows just this year's activity. So you have received some naming donations, quite a bit of interest on the unspent proceeds, both in the bonds and in your grant proceeds that have been sitting there. And then you can see project management continues to be on target at 77%. Salaries and financial consulting is right in line. Some of the other items that are on here are lagging a little bit, and that's because we've budgeted both for Bob Lucas and for the main library, and the main library hasn't really taken off yet in all of those areas. So you're under just a little bit. So this is just expenses, revenue and expense for this year, which you can see we total revenue is a little bit less than expenses, but those expenses, the remainder, you can see are taken from the actual building proceeds. So interest and donations are helping, but of course you're continuing to draw down on your bonds and your grants. And the next slide, 47, shows you that a little bit more by categories and by year. So each of the fiscal years since we've started, and then in column D, where we're at through March. So you can see where your bonds started and where they've ended. So you go through line by line, and the important things to note here are on line 21, we're saying there's 23.6 million left when we started with about 28. So the reason for that, the difference is not just spending, it's that it's been supported by additional earnings that have come in between. So your bond proceeds balance is about 20 million against the 23 that was received. And your grants are actually showing 3.7 against 3.8 received, again, mostly due to all of the interest that's been earned. Now, we have been meeting since we're at the 3-year mark of when the bonds were issued. So we have been meeting to talk about the investment yield that has to go back down. So for the first 3 years, you're able to earn and take advantage of that market. Now that we've hit the 3-year mark, you cannot earn more than the bonds would have yielded. The bonds were issued at a time when rates were lower, right around the COVID period. And so we are going to have to invest in different vehicles that earn less. So you're going to start to see budgeted dollars and actual dollars for earnings go down a little bit. And then we're still working with Jennifer, project manager, to determine where we're at with the main project and if that will stay on target, which will depend on a lot of the things that we're going to hear from the county and budgeting and so forth. So we don't, as Nikki mentioned, we've done a lot of work. The budget's sitting there ready. We just don't know what that revenue piece is. And so we're not comfortable presenting anything to you on that. Any questions about anything I've presented or what we're doing with the budget? As I mentioned to Katie, we do have that meeting scheduled tomorrow where we hope to get some answers to help us with the next part of the process.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Okay, so I know that because we're at that 3-year mark for the bonds, we can't just keep them in class and keep earning, 4.5% interest or whatever we're getting on them. Did we ever look into the whole slug situation? And is that a viable option? Like I read about it a little bit. So apparently, and tell me if this is wrong, because this is based on me looking at stuff on the internet. Who knows? But state and local government series securities exist for exactly this reason. When you can't continue earning interest, you basically roll them over into purchasing these kinds of securities instead, and it's a way to continue doing. Do we look at this? Is it a viable option? Is it a thing that we care about? Is it not applicable to us? Like what happened with that?
It is a thing, and I think we will look into it. I don't know that Mark, or I don't know if it's Mark that has helped us before on that, that's been in our calls from your municipal advisor, but until we know a little bit more about the backfill that could or could not be coming from the county or the state, I don't think we've explored that. As of right now, we have to get them into a different vehicle, and it's with US Bank. Primarily, we're talking the bond proceeds. The grant proceeds are invested with class, they can continue earning. It's the bond proceeds specifically that we have to change the investment vehicle immediately. Now, I don't think we wanted, I don't know, and the others that were in the meetings can tell me, but we haven't looked into any other options at this point because we don't know the status of the project itself. So I think that is something that we'll still bring up with them. But no, I have not done anything in that regard yet.
Well, Christy, could I suggest though that it doesn't make a ton of sense to wait to look into it until we know, like, should we not look into it now and know what our options are such that like, because they don't necessarily all have the same maturity lengths, right? There are shorter and longer term yield options.
So right now,
just-
no, it's a very good point, Katie. It just wouldn't be me doing it. We need to direct, is it Mike or Mark? I keep forgetting, Nikki. Who is it with? Who is your
Mike.
municipal advisor? That's who we need to have looking into that and working on it. And we did talk about it. He's been in those calls, but to my knowledge, he's not moved ahead because there was so much uncertainty. But we certainly can direct him to do that. The other point that you make is, or that I want to make based on what you said, we did have investment vehicles laddered to mature at the points of construction.
Right.
Quite a few of those did mature because construction was behind, delayed for several reasons. They have not been placed in long-term vehicles. They're actually sitting in a government security yield, I can't remember, fund. It's in a fund that's earning about 4%. And so it would be very easy to reinvest pieces of that. And again, that was with kind of the help of your municipal advisor. So that's who we need to bring on board to do that research. But we can certainly meet with him again to get that moving. I know it came up during those discussions, but I don't know that he's done any more with it.
Yeah, I just think it's good, the timeline for when we're gonna know about backfill, hopefully will be a short horizon, but also may not be, and I would hate to have us just sit on potential, interest gains that we might be able to pick up.
Right. Yeah, we have a number of meetings to hold this week. One with US Bank, the fiscal agent, to get things done, so we can add that one to it to make sure that we're really weighing all of our options. Okay.
There's a party happening.
You can't hear it, Christy, but yeah,
Story
like in the far distance, that every so often, there's just people going, ah.
Okay, are there more questions for Christy regarding the financials? Okay, thank you so much, Christy.
Okay,
Chrissy.
thank you all.
Thanks,
Have a good
Christy.
evening.
Enjoy
You
the
too.
good night. Okay. Then we can move forward to our committee reports, and that is all you.
That's me. Awesome. Okay, so facilities committee, the only thing that has like meaningfully changed since we prepared this report is a little bit of a shift in the process at Bob Lucas. So in the report, we said that there have been some time extensions due to fire and design changes, but we still anticipate late spring, early summer. I would move that to firmly summer, and perhaps even late summer. So there have been some supply chain issues and fabrication challenges with some of the glass that goes in the corner, you know, that big corner where the sort of tree sort of thing is. We are pressing very hard on that to try to move it as rapidly as possible. But there are some pieces of that that are outside our control. So every time we hear a report back from the contractor, things have improved a little bit, so I'm hopeful that that continues to be the case. But I would say realistically, you know, we're looking at probably July, August, for an opening date for Bob Lucas, which is later than we had wanted, but gotta have windows.
Yeah.
So that being the case, this is not really a facilities committee issue, but like, originally, the thinking was perhaps we would do summer reading and launch the library at Bob Lucas. Obviously, that's gonna be here at Maine instead. So that pivot has happened. But everything else is moving along on track and is in good shape. For Maine, we are still in our CEQA process. We're in our 30-day review period with LA County. They're doing their consultations with various departments, and then we will come back into another public comment period, which lasts 45 days. So all of that appears to be on track. There have been some reconfigurations at regional planning, given the way their staffing has worked post-fire and who's assigned to what. So we've been navigating that, but I think all things considered, it's moving in a fairly reasonable process. And then, yeah, I think we're good to go for Loma Alta. I think everything is pretty much on track there. Nikki, I don't know if there was anything still that needed to be negotiated. I think we got everything nailed down with them, right, with the county?
Well, we're still going into a partnership agreement with them, so that hasn't been signed off, but Daniel's supposed to get the keys this week, so we can start setting up and
Right.
it's been on my to-do list to invite the trustees. The grand opening of the alternate site is gonna be May 17th when the park opens, FYI.
So it's gonna be the upper level part? that whole
Yeah, it's
area?
gonna be what they call the social hall. So upstairs, right next to that like playground area, and then there's an open courtyard.
Yeah, but we got the whole thing.
We got the whole social hall, yeah.
What time on the 17th? Do you know, Nikki, or is it just all day, or is there
Well,
like a
they're
thing?
doing it in phases a little bit. I know, from what they told us last week, they're gonna do a ribbon cutting at 11 a.m. with Supervisor Barber, so. But they're gonna open up the space around 9:30 and have it like geared more towards the littler kids in the morning, and then it's gonna move to the Dodger Green Fields in the afternoon.
Got it, okay.
So if you were gonna show up, I'd say between 10:30 and 12:30. The ribbon cutting should be at 11 though.
11,
Yeah.
so 10:30.
So it's as set as it can be with the county.
Yeah, exactly,
What I will say.
exactly. That's right. But what I will tell you in terms of like just budget and process is that, so originally the goal was to have the Loma Alta site be what we used while we closed Maine, but obviously being in there earlier is very cool. That's an awesome service to be able to offer.
So what are we doing there? Like, are we opening right away? and
Yeah, we're
staffing?
gonna be open on the 17th, like, we're gonna.
Yeah, but is it like, what are the hours? Is it 5 days? Is it 6 days? How
Such a
many
good
staff?
question. Well, we're figuring that out, and I say that because for a brief amount of time, we thought we were gonna have 3 sites open at once.
Right,
So we're
but now it's
sort of
back.
shifting
Yeah,
back to just being 2 sites, so we think we can be open more. Can you definitively speak to that?
That's the thing, because with not having to send 4 people to Bob, they
Yeah.
are staying here or going the long run, so. We can do Saturdays over there, which was not gonna be possible. So now we can do that as well as fuller days.
Do we also get those small rooms on the side? No. So just the main hall and then maybe that outer area.
Mhm.
And then so that was also gonna be like a question mark storage thing for some material, maybe, but that's not big enough, right? So that's like a whole separate like container situation.
Yeah, the storage thing for material, like originally when we were shopping around for sites, you guys will remember, we were like, maybe we can put
Yeah.
containers here or there in somebody's
Yeah,
backyard.
so,
But I think what we're gonna end up doing is probably just having containers here
Here.
on site in the parking lot.
okay,
To keep everything stored that isn't either going away because it's not getting reused or, you know what I mean? So I think it'll mostly just be here.
so, sorry, you get keys soon?
Instead of early this week, so I'm following up with them tomorrow.
And do we have like a sketch? What, like is it carols? Is it like computer stations? Is
You
it?
wanna show yours? David?
I don't know if I can do it. on
Is
the
it,
fly.
is it a notion of an idea?
It's the MS Paint, pixelated, view, but yeah, so we have, I think it's, four smaller carols and 4 larger carols. Tables along one wall, with the ability to use for study and or some laptops that we would have available for people to use. We'll have, self-check, we'll have 2 service points, potential for 2 service points with, being able to have 4 staff on site, probably not ever going to have that.
Okay.
And then we'll have, self-checkout, catalog computer combo if possible, but separate potentially, and then, printing, functionality as well.
So pretty full feature.
And the vending machine,
And-
So the vending machine don't move?
Yeah,
Yeah, the vending machine is scheduled, for the first with some wiggle room there of May, which is just around the corner. We're still coordinating that move.
Okay.
So how long do we have the low multi-site for? Do we know?
we definitely have it for the duration of the main library closure. After that.
Question.
Question mark.
So even
Like-
though the main library's schedule has
Yeah.
shifted, okay.
Yeah, so we kind of lucked out, right? That shifted like way earlier. For the month.
Yeah, no, we're good through the closure and reopening of
Mhm.
Maine for sure. And then I think the question will be like, does it make sense to continue to have a sort of additional library site there? Can it be stopped? Is it being used? Is it helpful? What's the deal? So, yeah.
And there is a schematic, if you would like to take a look.
Very rough. The triangles are doors, the little, lightning bolts are power, and then the little blue things are where we want, Ethernet drops. It's kind of what we're looking at.
So it doesn't have Ethernet drops? Is that what you're saying?
No, they had wireless, but they're working on supplying Ethernet drops for us.
Oh, nice,
Yeah,
nice.
so the locations that we've laid out in blue are the locations where they plan on putting them for us.
It's pretty open. What's the big square on the left? I'm blind, so I can't.
It's a programming space, it'll be a
Got it.
multi-use space, so if we wanna hold story times inside, because I think the courtyard is meant to be like a shared use space, so if there's other things going on, we can bring, folks inside and have story time or something there, so there'll be some furniture there where people can lounge, but then also it'll accommodate programming as well.
And what's on the bottom row?
That's all of the desks that we would,
For computers?
for computers or people to sit and read or whatever they needed to do.
Approximately 2,000 square feet.
Yeah, what you get, you don't get upset.
That is all I've got on facilities, but happy to answer any other questions. Okay, Crisis and recovery, we've kind of touched on a lot of this. We're trying to get that money. Without getting too much in the weeds, basically where this all stands right now is AB/SB 100 was a recent bill that was passed, signed into law by the governor. It did a bunch of things, but among various things, it created a mechanism for backfill of property taxes for affected taxing entities, of which we are, of course, one. The issue is that the way it works and the way that the state has traditionally done that is they backfill the 1% assessed value property tax. And as you guys know, out of our $5 million annual operating budget, about 3/4 of that comes from the 1% assessment, and the other quarter comes from our special tax, which previously to this fiscal year has been Measure A, the flat rate per parcel, but this year will be the combined Measure Z, debt services and operational funding. So what we have said to the state is, and so anyway, in that initial set of projections, the way it works is the state directs counties, so at the county level, to come to them and say, like, for all the taxing entities in our area, this is what we think their shortfall is going to be based on our numbers from the assessor's office. They did that for us, but their preliminary numbers obviously only are capturing a percentage of the projected loss that we're looking at. So what we have been doing is saying, that is great. We definitely appreciate that money. Also, it's only 2 years. We're definitely hoping for longer backfill funding than that. But we are still aggressively pursuing the sort of other money that we need. So our ask to the state is $3 million a year for 5 years. That's our projection of what we're going to need to be able to keep the doors open and do everything we do. The initial 2 years of backfill that they have charted out is about $2 million. So we're still short 13. So when Nikki and all of us are like, we met with the governor, we met with this person, we met with, it's so that we can keep pitching we really still need $13 million. So we're going to keep pushing that as hard as we possibly can. Kind of right now through June is when the budget gets put together. The state has to have a budget by June, but it's kind of a pretend budget. And then everybody continues to fight about it through the summer and into September. So our hope is that we maybe get included in the early version of the budget, so that we know we have like a fighting chance of this. But more to come. This is the sort of active front right now of the funding situation. And it's very serious, and we're taking it very seriously, and it's taking up a lot of time, and we have stress dreams about it. But it's just like, it's one of the only ways we get to keep doing everything, right?
Yeah.
So I think if we can manage, and nobody, I will say, every time we've had conversations at the state level, nobody has said like, this is an unreasonable ask. It's more like, sure, yeah, if we can figure out how to do that, that makes sense. So I think that there's generally support. It's just going to be navigating the sort of process and the general resistance to, well, we've never done this before, from the state level, but that's what we're working on. Yeah, we're going back to Sacramento in May, to make the rounds again and tell everybody the story and explain, keep it front of mind. So, yep, that's what I got.
Stress dreams aside, thank you for your service. Thank you for doing that work. It's important.
Well, I catch the edges of it. I think Nikki is also up to her eyeballs in emails from everybody
all the
at every
people?
level of government.
Yeah.
Next, public office.
That's right.
Any questions regarding crisis and recovery? Okay. All right, let's move into new business. First being naming rights agreement for the Altadena Main Library. Sorry, let me open the actual agenda.
Okay.
Bookstore.
And I do have a public comment on the next 3 action items.
Oh.
Go ahead and let me introduce the item.
Then we'll let Mark comment.
So I don't have the agenda in front of me. Which is the first one?
The bookstore.
Bookstore.
Sorry?
The bookstore. Oh, I
Friends
thought he
Bookstore.
stood up because he was presenting it.
No.
Okay.
So it's Friends
Go for it.
Bookstore, Flagpole, Reading Garden, and we're doing Reading Garden.
So so the first one is,
It's fine, you can go ahead. Oh, it's good for me.
Okay.
yeah, I will just say on behalf of the Friends of the Altadena Library, that we are happy to be here this evening to actually say that, that the trustees have in front of them, this evening, the opportunity to, accept a contribution in the amount of $40,000, in order to name, what will be the new bookstore, in, the renovated main library when that reopens in, 27, 28. After the name of a longtime friend, who really has, done a lot of the work of sorting through the books to figure out which are more valuable than others. And so that's what this first item is. And Kathy's last name is?
Mahaffey.
Yeah, that Kathy. And so so I just want to thank you thank the staff for getting it here to the board. Thank the trustees that have been working with me and Tom and the friends over a period of time. And so we're happy to answer any questions if you have any on this, but it is in front of you for approval.
I have a processing question, sorry. What will it be named?
It'll be named, so this is in the naming rights agreement.
Right.
It'll be named the Kathy Mahaffey Friends of the Altadena Library Bookstore.
Okay.
So if you go to the actual agreement, that
I'm
gets
looking at
spelled
it, but
out.
then I got.
No, on the
confused.
next page.
Oh,
Keep
okay.
going.
Number 3.
Yeah, keep scrolling down. And then go to like section 3. And so in the
Yes.
naming, yeah, so that's the
Okay.
actual name of it.
So why is it broken up in the application? Like, the
You know-
donor should appear and then under the I have read by, then the naming and donor recognition policy.
The
Well,
real
because
answer
it-
to that is because we had to make up a form real quick to do this.
Yeah.
We just started naming stuff like just now, so we could probably make the form better.
Okay, I
Yeah.
just was confused.
Yeah,
Why-
that's
was
why.
like, there's 2 different donors, but no, there's just.
No, the donor is Kathy Mahaffey.
Okay.
The name is going to be a Kathy Mahaffey Friends of the Altadena Library Bookstore.
But that's not true.
Well, the donor is the
I'm
Friends
sorry,
of
the donor is the
Altadena
Friends,
Library.
excuse me.
And I think that's why it's
That's
made
why
this
it's
way. Yeah,
confusing.
yeah, but that's why the form is made this way because of this exact situation where the donor is not the person.
Right.
Right,
Whereas like the last one we did, Stephanie Tombrello was the donor, so she filled it out and then named it after her family members.
Yes,
right.
Whereas the friends are the ones donating the money,
who filled it out, but they're naming after.
choosing to name the bookstore after her.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Question, is there a duration to that or is it perpetuity? Is it-
50
50
years
years.
for the useful life of the asset.
And can you say more a little bit about that? Like if the library just determined before the 50 years, because it says whichever comes first, right?
Well, let me ask, Katie, did you say 15?
50.
Oh, I would say that when the Friends discussed this at the meeting, we believe, it was stated to them that we believed that the trustees would most likely not take anything past 1.5. That was under a certain amount of money, like 75,000 or something. So, look, 50 years is over generous, there's no question about that. But I'm gonna tell you from being a former government employee that's had numerous, I mean, dozens and dozens of naming opportunities, that I think the trustees, having a number that is, in that 10, 15, 20 year range. But I will say, on behalf of the Altadena Library Foundation now, speaking from that point, Katie and I did have discussions and we were gonna go back and forth with the foundation board to come up with better numbers. And that's why you have possibly a little confusion here, because the Library Foundation has not done all of the due diligence work it needed. Correct me if I'm wrong, Katie, but
Well, right, so, okay, so like, this is a how the sausage is made moment, sorry, we're just gonna lay it all out. So the reason it says 50 in the donor agreement is because this is the donor agreement we put together for the naming rights when Stephanie Tombrella made her gift. And part of the negotiation with her was she said, I would like to ensure that this gift is in place for at least this long. We said that makes total sense to us. So that's why it says, if we want to negotiate that, or we want to adjust that or amend that, we can. I mean, I don't know.
Did we have that in the original, the naming rights document we created 4 years ago? About like different,
It's at the board's discretion.
oh,
It's at the board's discretion. So that's like,
so we didn't codify what Mark was saying, where there was like a threshold where,
right. So what we asked the foundation to do was to take basically all of the various kind of tiers of giving that might exist and think about how that might correspond to various naming rights or durations.
right.
You know, everybody's had a lot going on, so whatever, but I do think that's an important thing we need to think
Yeah,
about.
and again, so think about this as trustees, is that if a $200,000 gift comes in
Yes.
later, or any other greater amount, you know, you've gotta have the flexibility at dollar numbers. So although I will say the 100,000 might be the exception at 50 years, but I think, again, you've gotta remember the practical use.
right,
And so, you know, the renovation of what this room might be, where the trustees, I don't think had, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't have a cap on what this room might be called for some period of time, does a little disservice to where you might name a name, right? So I think it is important. And again, I will just say honestly, when the Friends of the Altoona Library talked about this, and Nikki, I don't know if it was Nikki or Ashley in the meeting, but we said it was probably gonna be in the 15-year range guaranteed. Now, it doesn't mean that it couldn't last 25 years or
right,
30 years.
exactly, right.
It's just that the trustees are saying back to the donor that, you know, this is what we can deliver to you
At
now
minimum,
because it's
right.
fair. But look, I mean, there might be an earthquake, or there might be a major design again in 14 years because somebody might bring $100 million to the library foundation, and we're gonna say, we need to change everything around, right? That's all I'm saying. It is the Friends believed it was gonna be probably 15 years, because that was the range that we had talked about. So I don't think having, you know, anything more than that is that important, and I would very respectfully say
Yeah, no, I
that you should consider taking it down
Yeah.
from that
So
number.
can I make a suggestion here? I'm glad we're talking about this. So given all of that, I agree with you. I mean, I think that's
Yes.
correct.
Mhm.
I would suggest, because we're gonna be amending some other things in agreements a little bit later as we get to other items. Just to sort of be fair and somewhat proportional with what we've done so far, given that we did 50 years for Miss Tombrella's $100,000 gift, I would suggest that we amend the bookstore length to, let's say, 20 years. I think that's respectful. And we can keep it as long as we want, right? Like, there's nothing to say that at the end of 20 years, you have to change the name. It's just, it's sort of guaranteed for that long. So I would suggest that we amend this one to 20 years, and then I'm gonna have some suggestions on the other agreements when we come to them in a minute. Does it?
Would you be open to going less than 20? It just seems,
I
it seems
just-
like 20 is giving up, leaving a lot on the table for a long time.
Well, I think 15 is the ground floor, if
Minimum.
that's what the Friends are led to expect. And I also think this is a little bit of a special case because of the sort of level of investment of the Friends and.
And what will probably be an ongoing, because you gotta remember, the
Right.
Friends are still giving, you know, dollars to program support, and that's the idea behind it, right? So, you know, they're gonna be bringing in revenue when the library reopens. And those dollars are really gonna be for program support.
And I also think we've got a lot of other stuff to go put names on, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, we got a lot of rooms we can name, so. I don't know that there's gonna be necessarily competition or, you know, dollars on the table as it were because of the bookstore.
No, I get it, I just,
Yeah.
like, I've been part of these negotiations
I feel it.
before, and I'm like, ooh, 50 years is a long time.
It is. Question about the language, then it says that, it'll be until the library determines the useful life of the end of, or the end of the useful life of the asset, or whichever comes first. So what is that language then for? So is that the discretion that the board has? So that in 15 years, we can say the life has ended on this and we are going, that's not what it means?
No, not
Okay.
really. It's like, what if,
I think if that's more for like a bench type situation.
Like the bench is
Yeah.
broken and
Yeah.
gone?
yeah,
Or like the-
yeah, or like if the library burns down and we decide we're not gonna rebuild a bookstore.
Let me just give you an example
Got
of,
it.
you know, there are many Dodger Dream Fields, right?
Yeah.
The agreement for Dodger Dream Fields are 10 years at the most.
Mhm.
Clipper basketball, things that I was in the middle of negotiating for, were 3 years, right?
Oh,
But that Clipper logo stayed up for 17 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you what was Pepsi Playgrounds, for any of you that followed, you know, the late 80s and early 90s. Pepsi put millions of dollars across the country, but specifically in LA, for Pepsi Playgrounds. And up until I retired in 2015, their 5-year agreement, they still had 18 Pepsi Playgrounds 20 years later.
Yeah.
So again, it's the entity that truly says it, and after 15 years, there's a couple of things that happen, or 20 years, let's say in this case with that amendment, is that, you know, the Library Foundation might have a donor lined up at around year 16 and start having a discussion about a renovation of the whole downstairs, let's say, right? Because again, our goal is to put money at the end of the day, put money in what is a long-term maintenance kind of fund, so that whoever replaces Daniel, whoever replaces Nikki 15 years from now and 20 years from now, actually have a set amount of,
Mechanism.
or some amount of dollars. And when that shortfall, again, that's where naming opportunities come in, so that some other donor can then be of assistance to the Library Foundation and the library district. So I
Yeah.
think that's the goal behind that,
I got
by
it.
having a terminating date, but it doesn't mean you have to remove that name.
Right.
So
Okay.
I think specifically for this one, if the expectation was set at 15 years, you should pay
It is,
homage to that. And if we extend it, we extend it, right? But that's kind of if that was explained at your meetings.
Well, that's what we talked about in
Correct.
the Friends of the Library. I only because, again, Katie and I had been talking,
Yeah.
and she made some presentations and some discussions
Right.
to the whole Library Foundation Board. And the Friends of the Library contribution, the discussion, although they wanted, you know, they wanted total control of it, they also knew that they were following kind of the guidelines of the Library
Right.
Foundation, based on the discussions that you know, the library director and trustee, Katie, were working with us on. So that's where we got to this point today.
Look, we're doing, I don't say this negatively, but I think about, well, is there a character carve out? Say if something happens, it's that person, they did something and it doesn't show well, is there a character carve out where we get?
In the naming
Or is-
policy, the board does have sole discretion to revoke
Yeah.
any named space at any time, kind of for or without cause.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah. With the intent, when that, 2022, I think, right, when you guys were.
Something like that, yeah.
21, 22, with the intent that it wasn't gonna be without cause, but that it allowed really the opportunity of, you know, some giant foundation wanting to underwrite the library for 8 years under some, you know,
Sure.
as you know, an 8-figure number, right? That would just elevate what it is we are. I mean, we don't think that's coming, but you never know.
So what do we wanna do?
I'm open. I just want to respect what the Friends are doing. I don't want them to feel shortchanged in any way.
And I think
So-
20 years is fair, because again, I think we said 15, I think a 20-year, I mean, things under 75,000 or 100,000 should not get to the level.
50, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with
Yeah.
that. That's right.
Okay, 20 years? You
20
think
years.
That's okay?
Sure.
Okay. Shall we So what do we do? Are we
Okay.
gonna amend every,
So
Yeah.
so
or are
I'm
we gonna discuss and then push for a future?
So I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the naming rights agreement as amended. So namely to have the amendment to be a duration of 20
20
years
For this one.
for this one
Okay,
only.
the bookstore.
We'll talk about each
Or
one when
the-
we get to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
There is a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Okay, all in favor?
Right.
Right.
Alrighty, great, thank you.
Uh,
So,
Friends of the Altoona Library, thank you. So item number 2, which is B,
yeah,
is the Rotary Club of Altadena, which I'm now wearing a hat.
You wore your shirt.
You're wearing a shirt, not the hat.
Oh, yeah.
this is to you,
Um,
you can plug it up in the plug.
So the Altadena, just so you all know, that the Altadena Rotary Club in about 1999 received $1.1 million from the American Legion, the Altadena American Legion, to continue its work in Altadena in perpetuity, with a very strict restriction that stated that that a portion of those dollars could only be used what was called Americanism. And what that really very focused meant was replacing flags, flagpoles, and the increasement of something along those lines. And, you know, we've changed the definition a little bit, but we have this amount of dollars very specific for that. And prior to 1999, the American Legion put the existing flagpole that currently sits here at the main library in, which is why you see a plaque saying it was placed here on such and such date. All we're saying is in your, in the renovation of the library, that the pole is most likely gonna get moved. And the Rotary Club of Altadena is more than happy to, we actually worked on an estimate about 2 years ago, that just the pole and the concrete was gonna be about $5,000. But, you know, in the entire design, you know, it was gonna cost more eventually. And so the Rotary Club has about $4,000, or in this case, $4,500 a year that is in this Americanism line item. So I was able to save last year's money working with the board of directors, this year's allocation. And if we don't use this money by June 30th, it gets rolled back over and it's not gonna be allocated any longer for this one particular project. So it is imperative in a sense to have you consider accepting a donation in the amount of $9,000 from the Rotary Club of Altadena. And again, you know, the timeline on that, when you put a flag in and you put a plaque in, it's probably not moving, just like this last one hasn't moved in 27 years. But, you know, again, I think putting a year of, you know, 15 years, well, 15 years, so this is a smaller amount, right?
Right.
So 15 years is kind of a good establishment for a naming. But anyway, I'm here to ask you to accept a donation from the Rotary Club of Altadena in the amount of $9,000.
So I have a question. So this one is specifically, we know the donors like level of funding and intent. So I don't know, I didn't have a personal value on the naming rights for a flagpole. But we should just accept it, right? Like, I don't know, should we hold out for $15,000 for a flagpole? I guess is my question.
Oh, that's not how this works.
Yeah, that's why
That's not how this works. No,
Yeah.
the donor is saying, I will make a gift in this amount for this consideration. It's
Yeah,
not,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So-
it's
so
not like a
that-
negotiation.
Yeah, but that's my question in terms of. I don't have, this is clearly, this one specifically is clearly donor driven, right? And so.
Well, no, it was actually asked to us, a couple of years ago, as there was some discussion about moving, and so I won't name the name, but a previous person before Daniel, gave us a couple of quotes, and that's where we were basing it off of initially. And so, you know, I mean, I can tell you, you can buy a 30-foot pole that has the 6-inch base at the bottom for about, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but about $2,200, right? The real question is it gonna be a 30-foot pole, right? Is it gonna be a 40-foot pole? Where exactly is it gonna be after the renovation of the library? There's some questions there. And look, it doesn't mean that the Rotary Club of Altadena, if it turns out that it needs to be a little bit more assistance, that we might step up and do something, or the library foundation might do something, or somebody else in order to get that, if that is needed, when, you know, the time comes for the amount of money, but, you know.
No,
we have
I
it
don't
now.
think it kind of matters.
Right.
Mine is more like a philosophical question.
Yeah,
As to.
but that's good, you,
What is the
Right, right.
value of a flagpole, I guess?
Yeah.
And I think this one feels so right?
Yeah.
In terms of the history of how the organization came to the money and why you're doing it.
Yeah.
So it just, I don't know, it feels, yeah, it's good.
Term on this one, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years? I'm not,
15.
10 to 15 seems reasonable to me.
Split the balance, go 12.
There you go.
That guy.
It doesn't,
Great idea, back in the day.
he's gonna be there.
I know.
as you
Yeah,
know,
it's not
the
gonna go
The
anywhere.
Rotary Club has been giving money to the library
Yeah.
foundation, library friends, directly to the library over the years, I mean,
This is really, I think it's really not about necessarily like,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's about having some kind of consistency
Yeah,
for other donors, so we can say to them, we're not just like doing things in a random haphazard way.
Right.
So yeah, I think 12 feels proportional, reasonable.
okay.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we approve the naming rights agreement as amended, which in this case includes a revision of the term to a 12-year period.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Great.
And my last hat of the evening is the Altadena Library Foundation. And I actually made a mistake when returning the document to Catalina, so I do ask for an amendment. Not on the years, although that will probably come forward also. But the intent is Janet Edge, who was a longtime Altadena resident, had been working with the Library Foundation Board at the time in 2013-14 and died. And in her estate plans specifically left a chunk of money to the Library Foundation and the equivalent amount to the Altadena Senior Center next door. I will tell you, and a few other nonprofits and stuff, but the two organizations got the bulk of the money, about 1.2 something million split. And the Library Foundation was able to keep the money and utilize it, and we've spent about 200,000 of it over the years. The senior center next door, that way, that money went into the county coffers, and to this day, the Friends of the Senior Center are still discussing how come they don't have access to it and why it gets spent on regular everyday maintenance. It's a whole different issue. So we were very lucky to do this. One of the things that we've talked with the library about over all the years, but we finally come to a point of the renovation of the Bob Lucas is giving some recognition to Janet, to Miss Edge. And so that's what it is tonight, $50,000 for not naming the literacy center after her. But one of the things that Bridget, who used to be the president of the Altadena Library Foundation prior to Anita, who I followed, had always thought that outdoor community garden space should be, you know, the open space out there should be named after her. And so that would be the recommendation here for the $50,000.
Yeah, so in this one, the suggested, so what?
Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was gonna say, so instead of literacy center, it would be outdoor reading garden, I think is the language we landed on.
This is the asset to be named.
The asset to be named will be the outdoor reading garden. Exactly, and so it would be the Janet Edge Outdoor Reading Garden. And I would suggest that to stay again proportional, that we set the term of 25 years.
20,
25, something like that.
25.
Yeah, out of 100, so.
And this is at Bob Lucas.
This is at Bob Lucas, yeah, so this is like at Bob Lucas, it's the new space that'll have like the pergola and the outdoor programming space and
So
outdoor.
I'm forgetting the larger donation.
Yeah.
Wasn't that for this like same area?
No, that's for here, so
Oh.
that's on, on Mariposa, you know, that whole glass wall, that into the hillside, we're gonna have like almost a kind of amphitheater situation and out, so that will
Okay.
also be like an outdoor
Okay, okay,
programming space, but that's here at Maine,
okay.
yeah.
Got it. So not the Janet Edge Literacy Center.
No, that was an
Janet
error,
Edge
I'm sorry about that. It'll be
Outdoor Reading Garden.
Janet Edge Outdoor Reading Garden. Or we could just call it the Janet Edge Reading Garden, we don't have to say outdoor, most gardens are outdoors.
Okay, and then you're suggesting 25 years or 20?
2025, I think something in there is, Mark, does the foundation?
Yeah, I
have a
think
preference?
25 is fine.
See-
I would, Camila, just based on what you just said, I think you should make sure that there's a little discretion at the staff level to make technical corrections to the exact wording,
Wording.
naming. I think it's important that you allow that, so it doesn't have to come back to the trustees if, you know, if we put her middle initial in.
Yeah.
I gotta double check with the with the former lawyer, state lawyer, just to make sure.
Okay, so then does the motion need to include that? So the motion to, number one, name it after her. Number two, the time, and then, that it, you know, shall be named.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, once they come to an agreement on what the exact name should be.
Yeah, that minor administrative updates can be made without needing to bring this back to the full board, yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
All right. Then is there a motion?
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And as I may, before I leave, just say that for the trustees, if you remember seeing in your budget documents, there's a line item of $140,000 for donations this year. That was based on the work that the Library Foundation and Nikki and her staff worked on for not only these items that we've been talking about, but there's a $25,000 grant that we received that still has not been named, although I might have now shared it. And we have a $50,000 one that we've already talked about that the Pasadena Community Foundation had us apply for. And well, we applied for 25 and we got the 50 because we were named as one of the two capital grants. And so Nikki and I are working on finishing up the paperwork that needs to get submitted for PCF to put that money in our account. So you know, those checks will be coming to the library district.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Mark.
very
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
And to confirm, that was 25, right? Not
25,
25, okay.
More to come.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, then, we are gonna move on. We've completed all our naming rights agreements. And we're moving on to a letter of support for SB 256 by Senator Sasha Renee Perez. Who will be speaking to that?
Do you want me to?
Sure.
Okay, so this is in your board package on page 71. So this was a request that we got from Senator Perez's office. We've been working closely with her and her staff on various sort of efforts to, like we talked about earlier, backfill our property tax losses. And one thing that Senator Perez is doing is she has a big package of legislation that is related to wildfires. So there's just a lot of stuff that's moving through committee. And so her staff asked if the library would be willing to sign on in support of this bill, which is SB 256, which basically just says, hey, we need better planning, better guidelines around wildfires. I don't think it's a terribly controversial thing. This legislation, like a lot of the wildfire packages that are moving through, is attempting to correct some like gaps and deficits and oversights that's in some of the existing statute language. So this one really is just kind of trying to strengthen and codify some emergency management practices. I don't think it's controversial in any ways. I think that the library benefits from it. But they did have a strict timeline on this. Did they say, Nikki, that it was okay for us to give this back tonight?
Yeah, they had asked for us to send it by 3 o'clock today, but
Yeah.
I got permission to send it. I said 7, so chop chop.
Yeah, so. So, yeah,
Oh.
I
There's
know,
some blinds that need to be filled in.
that's right, that's
Is
right.
it, is it already ready to go?
It's right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
And it just needs to be signed?
Yeah,
Okay,
We'll scan it.
this is an action, yes.
it's
so-
an action because so and we have like an item on this about governance a little bit later. But yeah, this is an action item. Traditionally, the practice has been that any kind of statement of policy or position that is public facing has needed to be an action of the full board for lots of obvious good reasons. So that's the reason it's on the agenda for tonight.
Okay. Is there a motion? Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, so be it.
Boom.
There you go, Candy. 5 minutes to spare. Okay, thank you, Katie. All right, then let's move into governance. Where we need to appoint some, officers or chairs to these committees or people to the committees. So we have the Budget Committee Chair, who I am a member. We need a chair of that committee. Hello, new trustee.
Wait,
Or
so
just, yes,
can you, okay, so.
yeah. So I was gonna go over what we have.
Thank you so much,
Yes,
because I was
I
just
was
gonna say,
looking
I
at
can't
the
remember
minutes.
who's doing what.
I'm looking at the minutes, Catalina, this is from,
Kelly has them memorized in her.
I don't remember what the date is. I think it was January 24th. So, myself, oh no, I appointed trustee Ruffin to the CFD committee as a member. And that is the one that's with you, right?
No,
Okay, that's
crisis and
the,
recovery is.
oh, yeah, okay. Let me write them on,
I can share it on
the big screen. So we have CFD. Facilities,
Yeah,
crisis and recovery,
and budget.
and budget. And government, oh no, that's a liaison.
Yeah, and then the
Budget.
liaisons.
And then government. O. And A, L, no, what is it, friends? How do you do it? I'll do an A, L, F, okay. So you're gonna share on your screen?
Yes, and I'm missing a person, and I think this is not the most updated one.
And Boone, I don't see your name on this list, what were you appointed to do?
I thought I was on.
Boone is on CFD. is the
Okay.
chair.
Chair.
Your
Yeah.
your chair of CFD, Boo? Okay.
Chair, so we need one person, no, then trustee Ruffin is also on their CFD committee as a member, as according to this list that we had in January.
Yeah.
Camille, are you chair
I
of the
have-
budget committee?
No, I'm not.
Okay,
Let me grab it from my desk. I know it's there.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
okay.
We'll take a 2-minute intermission. Run, Catalina, run.
Well, and then if we're gonna create this other committee, like.
Catalina, tell us what we got.
Okay. So, government relations liaison, Katie.
Katie.
Friends liaison was Jason, so that's currently vacant.
Okay.
Foundation liaison was Ray. We do need a chair for the budget committee.
Okay,
member is Camila. CFP committee, our chair is Boone, our member is Ray. And facilities ad hoc is Katie. And I believe that is.
And we need a member.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then crisis and recovery is Katie and Ray.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we need someone, I mean, would you like to be on the facilities committee?
I would be happy to be on this.
Great.
There we go. And would you also like to be the liaison to the Friends of Altadena Library? Or does someone else want to do that?
I'm happy to attempt to take that on as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I can take the budget committee chair,
Okay.
so that we're, that,
Okay, so it's Justin.
And I'll send this out to everybody after.
Okay, so Justin's gonna do, you're gonna do Friends Liaison as well.
2 and 3.
Okay.
The friend liaison role too, because I think
It's gonna
it might be easier,
confirm.
'cause they're getting kind of condensed, I guess, right? When we close
Wait, what?
the friends
Hmm,
liaison
timing.
role,
Yeah.
their whole shifting, I guess, correct?
Well, yeah, I think it's gonna be a transitional period for them, for sure.
All right, so then we're full, right? Catalina, we have CFD, Boone as a chair with Ray as a member, facilities, Katie as a chair with Justin as a member, crisis and recovery, I don't know who's the chair, but we have Katie and Ray. And then
Yes.
budget, we have Boone is taking on the chair and I am the member.
Mhm.
And then government liaison, Katie, friends is Justin and foundation is Ray. Okay,
Oh,
awesome, thank you. So then we have on the agenda, the community engagement ad hoc committee discussion. So there's a potential conversation about starting a new ad hoc committee.
Yeah, this was from the meeting, right? I think we've had 2 meetings in a row that have been tremendous support, so we see them come and we see them go.
right.
And I think, we should try to bring them into the fold. A little bit more than just, friends and foundation, although I think that is at least a start,
Mm-hmm.
right? But, yeah, what do we think? What are the
What could it
mechanisms?
look like?
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess that's my question is like, what would the scope of work for that committee be? What would the outcome or the output be? And maybe it's just exploratory, maybe that's its initial phase, I don't know.
yeah, so I think one of the interesting things that came out of the last, election cycle was, the skill sets of the folks that could match our specific needs. And then I think one very obvious one is, CEQA and what was going on there. Roberta Robb, she was directly in the city planning system. So she was already talking about, yeah, I can, I know exactly what's going on with, the Loma Alta situation and how the funds and things were flowing there. So it's almost like, getting that extra expertise, right? In a tangible way, but I don't wanna create like you said, maybe not a specific committee for every like little need, but how we can create a consortium where people can join and help as necessary in some way.
So one thing that I have always thought would be cool, and we've talked about it in the past, is like, how we have a library of things and you can like check in a sewing machine and a telescope,
Mhm.
whatever. What if we
Like
had like a
skills,
library of
right?
expertise?
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's like,
Yeah.
we have people who are experts in various things because our needs will change over time as well.
Yeah, but I think,
Yeah, like a library think tank, basically, yeah.
yeah,
Where like
but,
there's people who are on call,
yeah, and it's, specific to the demand or whatever issue of the season. So maybe this initial ad HOP committee that we're putting together for community engagement is to create a basic Rolodex of some sort
Mhm.
for the Altadena Justice League.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
database.
I think that that's a really good idea. I think it would also be helpful for the committee, whatever it looks like, to maybe also have some initial conversations with
With-
people and also to think about like
Okay, the Avengers,
a vetting process.
right?
Because with the greatest respect to everybody, like, there's a reason we also have a legitimate RFP process for bringing in people with expertise. So, you know, sometimes people's understanding of their expertise and the library's needs for expertise are not a one-to-one match necessarily. So what skills matrix could you use? What mechanisms could you use to sort of understand where people are and how to match them to library needs? Would that be a board function? Would that be something that gets handed over to staff? Like, I think there are a lot of really interesting things to think about in terms of what that container could look like. But it might need some hashing out.
Yeah, so I think this is the initial phases, and maybe that'll be like one of the first couple of tasks, right? It's like, how do we vet, how do we, understand membership slash, what people want to do.
Participation.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are the expectations of a community member? What would that look like? You know, also like, just, we've had this challenge, to be really honest with you, with the community focus group that we've asked people to participate on for facilities is like, it's great to ask people to do things, but then you need to have something for them to actually do.
Mhm.
And otherwise it's just not a meaningful thing.
Well,
But I think it's a good question to
think
ask.
we
Like,
should do it.
I think it's worth thinking about.
yeah, I think we should do it. I think, specifically, there's a lot of folks that want to help right now in
Mhm.
some tangible way. And if there is a way that we can, have an outlet, and maybe this Rolodex for
A roster.
yeah, some roster, some, folks that we can bring to bear for the problems of the day. I think that'd be good. Yep.
So it sounds like there is some support or interest in creating an ad hoc committee for community engagement with some big overarching goals to create a sort of database of people and skills, as well as a vetting or skills matrix process to determine how those people and skills might be used. That's the kind of overarching kind of not necessarily motion, but suggestion that's on the floor. And then whoever makes up that committee could refine, would we say that they could refine the scope of work that they, that needs to happen and bring that back to does that need to come back to this body or?
No, it's an ad hoc
No.
committee.
Yeah.
You just
do it,
just do it.
just do it. And would there be, go ahead.
I would say three things, right? So
Yes.
one is, the vetting, and then the people slash skills.
Mhm.
And then, the committee should also look at, the useful outlet, kind of like the tasks
Mhm.
as well.
What do you mean?
Well, it's like what we need.
Yeah, what we need, what the folks are gonna do, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can I ask if this committee will also include the people from the community? Can it? Like,
You
I'm
can
thinking
do
about
anything you
the,
want.
Sorry, say that again,
that, cause this ad hoc committee, will it also include people from the community, like the people that were here in the room, or is it
Yes.
just only made
Oh.
up of board members? What's the rule?
So the rule is you can have anybody you want on a committee. But it sounds like from what you're describing, Boone, that it might make sense to have conversations with people as needed. And then maybe a future iteration would perhaps have community members as full committee members, but it doesn't sound like there's a clear enough sense of what the committee is yet to
Yes,
have
I
like.
think that to formulate kind of like at least 2 or 3 of those things, from that list before we branch out to the actual community to
Yeah.
assess membership or
Mhm.
rostering, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. How does the process work to start a committee?
You
Does
just say
have-
it exists. It's
Okay.
an ad hoc committee. It's an executive action.
We don't have to vote on it?
Nope,
Got
only
it.
standing committees.
Okay. Are we all in agreement that this should happen before I make it so?
Well, I think it's a great idea. I just wanna be realistic about like who's gonna do the heavy lifting on it. Boone, I think you have a lot of enthusiasm for it, which is
Yeah.
awesome. I just wanna make sure there's somebody else who can support you. I will say I am at capacity in terms of stuff. But I think it's a cool idea and I'm excited to hear what you come up with.
Yeah, I feel like, is there 1-person committees? I guess my question is that,
No, you need at least 2 people.
Yeah.
Or it could just be an independent thing that you think about and come back to the board on, that it's not a committee. But I think it would probably benefit from some
yeah, from some counterbalance.
dialogue.
Mm.
Well, I also feel capped out, in terms of space and bandwidth and that, you know, my brain can only hold so many thoughts.
Right,
I also think it's a great idea. I just don't wanna do it right now. Cause I can't. I really can't.
I understand.
So I'll ask our other 2 members.
I'm keenly aware this is my first meeting. I probably don't know if I'm tapped out.
Right.
So I think maybe I might have to put a pin in it until our next meeting.
Mhm.
I just don't know my capacity yet. Like the idea, but if I commit, I wanna know that I'm committed to it. I just don't know if I can commit just right now.
Maybe I would suggest that we informally kick around ideas
Yeah,
between now and our next meeting to formulate it more.
that's
fully.
fine.
And
I was
then-
gonna say it's a lonely thing, but if you wanted to not make a proposal, but if you wanted to kind of think about, like, kick around ideas and hash it out a little bit more, like,
I
this is
don't
what we're
remember
gonna do, this
what
is.
the rules were, so like, am I allowed to contact some of the folks from?
You can let me know if you'd like it
Yeah,
to be an
so,
agenda item.
you know,
I can
maybe-
place it under governance again.
No, no, no,
he's
no.
saying
No,
to
he's saying, can he
contact the
talk to
people.
some of the people like who've applied for the vacancy?
Oh, I mean, you're welcome to speak to community members if this is something that you want to bring to the board. Yes. If you're speaking about board business to other board members, on the other hand.
But I think we have to give him the contact info.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So it might be
You guys are looking
that.
at me like, where's she?
Yeah, I just wanna know whether that is actually okay.
I mean, if there's people that you have talked to and they're okay with it.
What
But
I
I
would
can't
suggest,
really give you the contact
Okay.
information.
like maybe you could copy all of them. and
That's a good
connect
idea.
them To Boone.
Yes,
And
that's what I was gonna say
if
too.
you'd be
Okay.
interested in having a conversation
Yeah,
about getting.
that's a good
involved.
idea.
That'll work.
Yeah, so maybe that'll just be our
They
first,
would
you
be
know,
reaching out to you.
pre-ad hoc.
Yeah.
To kind of
So ad hoc.
build give it a little bit more bones or meat.
Yeah,
and
just to
bring it
see,
back.
they've got some ideas and. some
Yeah.
questions that maybe-
Okay.
Yeah, the one thing that I will say, and again, I'm not trying to like throw cold water on anything,
Mhm.
is that very often people who do not have experience with public agencies don't understand the differentiation between what the board does and what staff do.
Yeah.
And you will get a lot of like blurry suggestions of like, well, I think the library should do this and I think the library should do that. And it's like, okay, well, but those are things that we have a professional staff that we hire to do, right? So I would just like, I'm not saying that that's, you know, a crisis or anything, but just, you know, as you kind of have these conversations with people,
Right,
I would just keep on your radar that like many of their suggestions may well be things that are like outside the remit of
Yeah.
what the board would do anyway. Yeah.
So to summarize, what I am making so is a pre-ad hoc committee not a committee, of Boone, having thinking about these ideas and having a conversation with possible community members to flesh out the ideas more, to bring back to the next meeting to present and determine if we will have a ad hoc committee on community engagement.
Yeah.
All right. Then that is so. Okay, moving on to trustee chair and governmental liaison approval of letters of support. This is a discussion on the agenda. Katie, you want to give it some background?
Sure, so this is here because of the SB 256 sign-on request. So especially like right now, over the next several months, it may be the case that there are a number of bills where the library is asked to sign on for support, specifically related to like wildfire and recovery stuff. Because we are we're the only public agency with Altadena in the name, right? So us signing on to things can be useful, and it also is a way that we can support the assembly members and senators that we're asking to carry some water for us on this property tax backfill question. So, like I said earlier, the typical practice that we have followed is that anytime there has been a public facing sign on or support or sort of policy position from the district, that has been the outcome of a vote of the full board at a meeting. But I'm a little bit concerned that our ability to be agile and responsive is gonna be hampered by that, because then we'd have to like call a special meeting every time. And like for this 256, I think we got like 2 whole days of notice, which is not uncommon. Like that's gonna keep happening as stuff moves through committee. And they're like, oh, PS, the deadline is tomorrow, you know? So one suggestion that I wanted to talk about, and I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but I thought we should at least talk about it, is sort of the board authorizing functionally that if there is agreement between the chair and so basically Camila and I, that it would be something that the library would want to sign on that's within our remit, that it's kind of not controversial in any way or something that would, you know, push the bounds of what we normally do, that we could be authorized to sign on behalf of the library. The alternative to that is we just call a special meeting every time we do that, but I think that you all know logistically that is quite challenging.
Well, and I'll even throw in, like, sometimes there's not even time to do that,
Yeah,
you know, like, we have had to turn down a lot of these in the past because the timing, they usually want them pretty quick.
yeah,
So, and they're usually things that of course you guys would support. Like to Katie's point, I think if it's something that we think there might be some discussion or issue with, then we would call for a meeting or bring it to the next meeting, but like the turnaround's usually pretty fast.
If we were to modify that process, do we have the authority to modify that process, or does it need to be like the bylaws modified or something like that,
Is
or?
it in the bylaws?
it's not even in the bylaws. The board has complete discretion to do whatever it wants on this. This is more of a norm than anything else. This has been like just the way we've done it. Sorry, I feel like I'm turning my back. Yeah, it's more of a sort of a norm and a practice that we followed, because in the past, like honestly, there have not been that many time sensitive things, so it was not a big deal to put things on agendas. And there have occasionally also been things where we're like, is this really like in the library's lane? Like, do we need to be commenting on this? And sometimes people will ask us to support things and we're like, actually, that's not our deal. But I think because of the amount of wildfire recovery legislation that's gonna be happening, we're gonna get a lot more of these requests in the next like 12 months probably.
And really what's coming in the past, I'm trying to think, Ashley, we usually get hit up by like partner groups that are trying to pursue a grant.
Right.
Or get funding of some kind, and they want us to support what they're trying to do as a partner. Which we, almost every time we would be like, of course we sign on, but we don't have time to get it to the board.
Right.
So that would be another example of something we do get requests for.
I would support that if there's agreement between the committee chair the board chair, assuming that at the next regularly scheduled meeting, we got like a summary of whatever's happened in the meantime.
Mhm.
what we signed on to.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm thinking about your word in terms of agile. Well, I guess, is there any opposition to this from, I mean, it sounds like Justin's in support, maybe obviously Ray or Boone.
Is there any?
I support it. It's needed right now, it expedites things, so
Mhm.
just send us an email and let us know, hey, this has come through and we can draw a price at that point.
Yeah.
We're good to go.
Well, so I think that was my question. Is there an e-way to do it? Like,
That's what I was gonna ask
No.
also,
So this is the problem with the
the Brown.
the
Act.
Brown Act, and I almost said a swear on YouTube. But I didn't do it, because I remembered we're on the YouTube. No, this is the problem with the Brown Act and teleconferencing, like, if we could just take these votes by email, that'd be great, but I don't believe we're allowed to do that. Unless
Well-
Catalina or the lawyers tell us differently, but
Well, we don't have to vote, but what could
cognizance. of the-
Catalina send out an email that says, do you have any opposition to this?
well, but see, that's the problem, is that is not a public discussion, right?
Mm.
So anytime two or
Okay.
more than two of us are talking about
Yes.
something,
Not even
that's-
if we're not talking to each other.
it doesn't matter, because it's like, if it was a Facebook post and we all liked it, it would have the same effect, right? Of
Yeah.
like getting a consensus of people's opinions.
Okay, got
Which is
it.
why I suggested that we at least get the summary at the next regularly scheduled.
Yeah,
meeting, so
yeah,
that we-
exactly.
Is this working? Is this not working? Are we signing on to things that are?
Yeah, and I think, yeah, absolutely, we should revisit, because maybe it's like, actually, I don't think we should have signed on to this, you
Yeah.
know, whatever, or this should have been a discussion, or this all seems fine.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm fine with it. It's a lot of, what's there's a word I'm looking for? Trust in, we'd have to have trust in how whoever is operating in those seats. Right now, it's the two of us.
Right.
But I would hope that there would be, just trust in the ability or thought process of the people sitting in those chairs.
Well, and I don't think we should like permanently delegate this authority, right? I think that this is because of the kind of
Right.
nature of the situation we're in.
Kind of crisis and
It
recovery.
kind of crisis, yeah, it kind of feels like relevant to that, but maybe we want to delegate this authority for a certain period of time, for like 3 months, and then we reassess, or,
Stay through. I'll say the end of October.
right, yeah,
stay through
something like that.
October.
Which will get us through the budget, at
Right,
least,
exactly.
yeah.
Okay. I am fine with it. But we don't need to vote or anything. There's not
No, it's just a
Okay.
process issue.
is there any more discussion on this item before we move on? Okay. All right, then, announcements and planning. We have some correspondence from LAFCO. Catalina, were you gonna speak to that at all? Either of these pieces of correspondence?
Yeah, so I mean, it's really just for your information. So LAFCO, if, anybody needs a refresher on that. So it's governed by, well, the acronyms, they're the Local Agency Formation Commission. They're governed by the Cortez-Knox-Pittsburgh Local Government Reorganization Act of 2000. So basically what LAFCO does, is they're involved when there's any changes to governmental boundaries involving the formation and expansion of cities and special districts. They don't oversee county boundaries or anything like that. But because they oversee, special districts in that manner, we are members of LAFCO. And we get these periodic, communications from them that we do like to share with the board. And this was their budget. So again, for your information. And then Katie, I'm gonna look into seeing if I can get you on their email list so they can send them directly to you.
Oh, great. I would love that. I'm always sitting at home being like, damn, I really wish I could read I wish I could read some laptop mail.
You said that at first, and I was like, what's she talking about? I didn't pick up on the sarcasm in your voice yet. I was like, what?
They are an important body, but they're not scintillating reading. Yeah.
And they
Okay.
do, every now and then they will have elections and they
Yes.
do open it up to any special district member who wants to run. So when that comes up, when their election season comes up, we also,
And don't we, do we vote or we like, I remember Terry bringing,
our government,
Yes.
liaison,
Yes.
is actually the voting.
Right.
Yeah.
Representative.
Yes, okay.
Catalina, we should set up like a liaison email address. So we don't have to change it for every person.
That actually is a good idea.
Yeah. And then it can just, for all the stuff that would need to go to that. Like for the governmental liaison specifically, right? Cause there's like
Yeah.
lists and emails and stuff.
Sure, we could talk to the IT department about that.
I'm gonna request more pictures of dogs to click on. if
Work on
possible.
that through the liaison, you know.
Okay, perfect.
And will they, can they then though connect so that?
yeah, the one person will have.
Yeah, it would just get forwarded to their email.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, check another email box.
I have so many emails, it doesn't matter at all.
Okay, and then there's a letter from LA County Parks and Recreation with wonderful thanks, right? Do we need to speak to that? Read it. Thank you up to our staff, for staffing the care teams, right? Or the care camps?
This was in,
Yep.
Regarding the care camps that staff were part of for about 4 weeks.
Mhm.
4 weeks, right? Gosh, a whole month.
3 weeks.
3?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we
Okay.
started them the Monday after the fire, so I think the 12th or whatever that was, through the end of January.
Again, happy that we were able to support the community in that way. All right, moving on. Are there any proposed future agenda items? Our Community Engagement Committee.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
Mhm.
All right. If no others, then I will adjourn us at 7:26. Well done, folks.